Yo guys, welcome back to the Motor Roger channel. Today we're going to be carrying on from last episode where you would have seen that we bought a brand new Stagea that we spent £7,500 on. We went and picked it up from Cornwall, and you would have seen that the head gasket basically went on the way home. After getting the car recovered home, the car owed me about £8,000 at this point. So in today's video, what we're going to do is basically cover everything that we've done over the last month to get the car back on the road and get everything running and driving as it should have been. So when we bought the car, we had no idea the head gasket was going to go, obviously. We knew there was some issues with some rust, we knew there was a couple of other bits that needed attention, but the engine I believed to be fine. So we was expecting to have to do a timing belt at some point, we was expecting to have to, change the spark plugs, do a service, all of that stuff, but the head gasket was a bit of a throw off. So I managed to do some sort of digging about. I got some quotes from several different people of how much it was going to cost us to get the head gasket done. I spoke to a lovely chap named Fergus, who is the guy that I ended up going with. He's based very locally to me. I'm based down in Kent, as is Fergus, so if you're down in Kent, give him a message. But he basically reached out to me after I put a post up on the Stagea owners group on Facebook. He reached out to me and basically said he could do all the work for me. He'll be, able to get the work done in a quick turnaround. The price that he quoted me was, a very, very decent price, and for someone that's got mechanical knowledge like that, I didn't expect it to be as cheap as it was. So he's a top guy, he's a top man, and I can say that obviously I can't recommend him enough. So we got the car trailered over to his unit. As you would have seen in the last video, that's the final clip you would have seen, is the car on the trailer going to his unit. So after we got the car into the unit, we got it up in the air. We had a look around the bottom of the car. Obviously we had a look at the rust issues that we knew were there from before. The strut tops, as most Stageas are, they're very, very prone to rust at the strut tops, under the wing mirrors and the rear arches. They're, the most common points to go. On this car, I can say that the under the wing mirrors is starting to go, but it's not terrible. The strut tops are awful. One of the rear arches is not so great, but one of them's okay. So there is a bit of rust on the car, and obviously we will be going through and fixing all of these bits in time. I've got a guy in mind who's based down in Faversham in Kent as well, who's fairly local to us, and I've actually been down and seen him, and he's given me a quote for the strut tops being done fairly shortly after Christmas. So we're going to hopefully get that sorted in due course. With getting the car dropped off to Fergus, once we had a look around the car, we kind of did an overall sort of health check, working out what we was going to need to replace just to be able to get the car legally on the road. It came down to basically getting the engine working, getting the head gasket done, doing a timing belt, a service, all of that sort of stuff, and then it was going to need a full set of tyres, because the tyres that were on the car, where it had been sat in a garage, in Mark's lovely garage, I must say, he's got a very nice house, the guy that we bought the car from, but it was sat in his lovely garage for 5 years, so all the tyres were cracked, they were all basically just perished, so they were useless, and probably not even safe to drive home on, but I was going to risk it, but yeah, don't tell anyone that was allegedly. So I will say that obviously the tyres, they definitely need to be done, and obviously getting the engine running, they were the main parts. Once we got the car in the unit, we got it up on the ramp, and I basically set Fergus to work. He started stripping down the car, started stripping down the engine bay, where we found obviously several different issues. He found a couple of possible vacuum leaks, a couple of hoses that weren't even connected to anything, and then obviously once he started stripping down the engine, we took the head off, and straight away obviously we knew cylinder 6 was chucking out water, so we knew it was going to be an issue with cylinder 6 more than likely. Once we took the head off, we could actually see the gasket. We have got some pictures of the gasket which we're going to show now, where you can see there is a definite sort of, I don't want to call it a hole because it's not necessarily a hole, but you can tell that's definitely where the water is leaking from, because it's it's completely bent out of shape. It's not the way it's supposed to be. So that's what would have been letting in the coolant, that's what would have been the massive sort of leak that we had, and that would have caused all our issues on the way home. Whether that's someone hasn't fitted it properly in the past, or whether that's just where it's been sat in a garage and it's swelled up, or decompressed in itself, I don't know. I'm not a mechanic, I have no idea how it's happened, but that's what's happened, is the head gasket's gone and it needs replacing. So that gave us our starting point of where we needed to kind of start off with. We actually got the head sent off to a machine shop, which was a guy that Fergus and Alex, who was also working on the car, a good friend of Fergus's and now a friend of mine, he's a very lovely chap as well. But they basically got it sent off to their friend who owns his own machine shop to get the head skimmed, crack tested, and everything like that, make sure it was all good. So we sent that off as soon as we got the head off, and we received it back a couple of days later. We then needed to go and order some parts, so I spoke to Fergus and he recommended a company called Auto Extreme, who are based somewhere in Sussex, I believe it is. After speaking to Auto Extreme, lovely guy that runs basically the company, his name's Wayne, he reached out to me as well, and basically we went through, came together with a parts list between me, him and Fergus of what we're going to need to get the car on the road. There was a few bits on there that were necessities, and there were a few bits on there that we just wanted to upgrade, just to make sure that obviously the car was going to be in good shape for at least a couple of years, because we don't want to be, you know, ripping the engine apart every 6 months because we've broken something else. So whilst we were in there, we tried to do as much as we could. So on the parts list front, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flash up the prices of everything as I go through it. We managed to get a Cosworth head gasket, 1.5 millimeters. We got some ARP head studs. We got a HKS timing belt. We got a genuine Nissan water pump, which was very, very expensive, but I was told by 3 or 4 different people, definitely don't go aftermarket and definitely get the original from Nissan, because otherwise I was going to regret it. So after, you know, speaking to a few different people that own the same engine car as me, I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to learn from their mistakes, because clearly someone has had issues with aftermarket ones. We went for a Mishimoto thermostat, a slight little upgrade there, just to hopefully get the car to run permanently cooler. We got Fuchs Titan Race Oil 10W50, which is basically the standard for what you want to put in an RB25 as far as I'm concerned, from what I've heard from 3 or 4 other people. We got a HKS oil filter. We got some NGK copper spark plugs. We got a exhaust manifold gasket, an inlet manifold gasket, a rocker intake gasket, rocker exhaust. We got a rocker cover half moon seals, and we got cam seals. We got a Mishimoto oil drain plug, which I believe was magnetic as well. And then obviously we needed to get some coolant, and we needed to get some other little bits here and there. But that was the main list of what we bought from Auto Extreme. I spoke to Auto Extreme, spoke to Wayne, and he basically got them parts sent out to us ASAP. We paid the same day. Invoice got sent to me straight away, paid the invoice straight away, and the parts were literally with us the following day. So can't recommend Auto Extreme enough. All the parts turned up, you know, nothing missing, no issues whatsoever, and it was, you know, very, very speedy, and it allowed us to kind of crack on with the rest of the project straight away. So yeah, no complaints there, everything was all good. We did have a video of us unboxing the parts, but unfortunately that footage got lost. Blame hard drives, blame technology, blame me being stupid, but there we go. With the rest of the parts sort of coming here and there, picking up the coolant, and, you know, obviously the battery we already had, we bought that when we was on the way back from Cornwall. It was now just going to be a case of waiting for the head to come back from being skimmed. So once that came back, which you will see, there was a time lapse where we basically set a camera up overnight for when the head got returned, and that came in. So once the head was returned, it was just going to be a case of getting Fergus to work his magic and put everything back together again. We did get quite a lot of footage of obviously everything being put back together, but I'm not a mechanic. I'm not going to be able to explain to you what exactly is being done, or where he's exactly doing everything in the footage that you're going to see. So what I'm going to do for the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to talk about what the plans are with the car at the moment. Obviously, we need to get this head gasket sorted, and that's being done in this video. After the head gasket and after the timing belt and everything like that is done, once the engine is good to go, I want to talk about what the sort of the longer term goals are, because obviously with this car, the rust is a big issue. The strut tops are the worst part of the rust. Both the seals are going to need some attention at some point. Jacking points at the moment are fairly okay. One of them, I believe, has already been done in the past. The rear arch on the driver's side does need some attention. That's not the best. The rear pockets aren't great, but they're not structural, so it's not too much of an issue right now. And then obviously we've got the under the wing mirrors, which is going to be sort of like the next big issue that we want to conquer. On the grey Stagea, you probably remember seeing some pictures of the grey Stagea. Under the wing mirrors, there was some bad rust on that car. On this car, it's not as bad, but there is some bubbling coming. So we want to get to that before it gets to the point like it was on the grey Stagea, where the doors just need replacing. Because right now, the doors are definitely savable. So with the rest of the project, basically, this car is going to need the strut tops done ASAP. As I said earlier on, I have got an idea of how much it's going to cost me to get the strut tops done. Obviously, when we bought the car, it came with the SR Auto Bodies panels for the strut tops, which is very helpful. So Mark, the previous owner, had bought those because he knew they was going to need to be done fairly shortly. After speaking to a couple of different people, I got some ridiculous quotes. There was a company that basically was asking for about £11,000 for the rust work on the car, which was going to include obviously the strut tops. It was going to include the sills, the rear arch, and under the wing mirrors. For £11,000 on this car, that is just not worth it. And that's just me being honest. If I was to get this car completely perfect, completely, top mark, top scratch, because of the 213,000 miles that's going to be on the car, at this point, putting 11 grand into rust repairs, plus obviously the head gasket, which is, a rough estimate, probably about £2,500 to £3,000. When you add that all up, that equals, £24,000 on the car. That's just, uneconomical. It's not worth doing at this point. So got some quotes around, shopped around a little bit, and I spoke to a guy called Rich, and he's just started his own company, and that's called Crazy 8 Customs. He's based down in Faversham. Obviously, I'm not going to be speaking to Rich for a little while. It's going to be after Christmas, but I have been down and I have spoken to Rich. I've shown him, obviously, the state of the car at the moment. I've shown him the SR Auto Bodies panels. He thinks he's going to be able to give it a good go. Obviously, he doesn't do painting, but for under the bonnet, I'm not too fussed about the painting. So I said to him, if I give you a rattle can, do your worst. And he said that's absolutely fine. So we are going to be booked in with Rich for sometime in February. We're going to be taking the car down there, hopefully, obviously. As long as the engine and everything like that is fine. Rich is going to be doing the work in February to hopefully get the strut tops done. He's quoted me roughly £1,500. If I'm honest with you, I don't know how much it's going to cost. It could cost less. It could cost a lot more. Obviously, we know the strut tops on the R33s and the R34s is a big issue. I know a lot of people are charging a lot of money, and I know a lot of people are very scared of doing said job. So we're just going to take the car down to Rich. We're going to let him do his best, see what happens, and obviously we'll go from there. I'm not expecting... I'm not expecting the work to be done in half a day. I'm also not expecting it to be, £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 just to do the strut top. So we'll see what he can do. Hopefully he can get that all together, and hopefully we can get this car back into sort of tip-top position. After we've done the strut top repairs for the rust, we're probably going to leave the rest of the rust for a little while. And the reason I say that is because the next thing after that is we're going to be deciding what to do in terms of the power on the car. We currently are going to be sat at about 300 horsepower because it has got the boost controller, it has got an exhaust system on it, and it has got a few little bits here and there, like the blow-off valve. However, the power on the car at 300 horsepower in a car that weighs as much as it does is not too quick at all. Obviously, that sounds ridiculous to say. 300 horsepower is a lot of power for an older car, especially a 1990s car. However, because of the weight, it doesn't feel like a 300 horsepower car should. So in my head, I'm thinking that, I want to go along the lines of getting a little bit more power without pushing it too much. I think around 450 horsepower would be perfect in this car, especially in this country. We don't have an autobahn, we don't have anywhere where we can really put our foot down too much, so 450 would be, probably a good number for me. I've been told by a few people that I can get 5, maybe 550, because we're going to be doing the ARP head studs and stuff like that. However, as I said, I want it to be reliable. I want to be able to drive the car whenever I want. I don't want it to be stuck in a garage all the time because I'm trying to push too much. So eventual plans with the car is obviously after the strut tops are done, we might look into getting some more power out of the car. The best way that we're going to be able to go about doing that is going to mainly be through getting a standalone ECU and getting a bigger turbo. The way that we're probably going to be doing that is the standalone ECU. Obviously, I don't know what brand I'm going to go for yet, but it will be, custom wiring loom. That's all going to have to be done. And then when it comes to the turbo, we're probably going to be going for a top-mounted turbo with maybe even a forward-facing intake. I believe you have to do both, but I might be wrong on that. Obviously, I'm still learning RB25, so if you know anything about them, please drop it in the comments, let me know. But yeah, I do believe the top mounted turbo, obviously a big hybrid would be lovely, something that can run 450, fairly reliably. Then we're going to have to get all the bolt-on mods, such as front mounting intercooler, aluminium radiators, oil coolers, all of that jazz we're going to need to be getting. But as I say, that's after the strut tops and after we've got the car actually just running right. So in the background, you will be seeing, right about now, you're going to be seeing, obviously, Fergus putting the car back together. We've got a lot of footage, so we're going to include as much as we can, but we also want to get to the point at the end of this video where you're going to be able to see the car basically getting onto the road, us taking the car for a test drive, making sure everything's running right, making sure the car's doing what it should be, and then starting to run the car in. So we got towards the end of putting the car back together. I got Fergus, he managed to get it started up, which we're going to have a little video of as well. And then obviously we got to the point where we needed to order some tyres, because that was going to be the big thing that stopped us from getting the car on the road. So the tyres we ordered from Tyre Streets, as I'm sure most of you probably do. I watch Auto Alex, Top Dead Sensor, all of those guys, all the gear. They're brilliant. They're very entertaining. And so I cheekily used their discount code to get some money off. Tyre Streets managed to send me out 4 Accelera tyres, so a full set of tyres for just over £200, which is ridiculous, especially for 245 40 18s, which is, it's a fairly common, it's a fairly uncommon tyre, sorry. So for 200 quid for a full set of tyres, I can't complain at all. And Fergus was lovely. He basically, within the price he quoted me to do the head gasket, he also fitted the tyres for me. So that was perfect, and that was very helpful. And that helped us to get the car on the road as soon as we could. When we got there, we basically got the tyres fitted straight away, and he took me out for a quick test drive. When I got there, I was a little bit panicked because there was still a lot of condensation, a lot of smoke in the exhaust, but that was due to, obviously, there was a lot of water in the exhaust, a lot of water built up in, obviously, like the back box, everything like that. There would have been a lot of moisture, which was causing the smoke when I got there. So I was a little bit worried first because, I saw the smoke when the head gasket went, and the smoke was still there after fixing the head gasket. I was a little bit worried, but that's just my amateur mechanical knowledge. But there we go. So when we picked the car up, obviously the new tyres were fitted. We then went out on a quick couple of test drives. Fergus blasted it up and down the road, and the car felt amazing, I'll be honest. So when I picked the car up from Cornwall, when I drove it the first time, the car felt pretty crap, I'll be honest. And the reason for that was the fact that obviously it had been sat in the garage for 5 years. The brakes were not quite seized, but they weren't exactly great, let's put it that way. And then obviously there was a few creaky noises here and there, and just, obviously the battery was dead when we picked the car up. We was having to jump start every 2 seconds. When we bought the new battery, obviously 10 miles later down the road after buying the new battery, the head gasket went, so we didn't really feel the benefits of that on the day. I took the car on a couple of test drives. We went and drove the car around, where Fergus is based, until I was confident enough that we was ready to take the car home. So on the same day that we picked the car up, we took it straight to an MOT garage. We took it straight to a guy that I know who's been doing my MOTs for a long time. He got the car up on the ramp, got through the MOT, passed the MOT, which is absolutely great news. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting it to pass, and I wasn't expecting it to go through. The MOT guy did give me a couple of little sort of bits of advice when it came to a couple of ball joints that are going to need doing soon, a couple of little bits here and there that might want looking at, but there was nothing major at all stopping the car from being on the road. So the MOT was passed, we got the car successfully running, driving, and all sorted, all in that afternoon. So that was brilliant news. Over the course of the next couple of days, obviously I was doing some running around, I was doing quite a lot of driving in the car. The RPMs when it was at idle was about 1100 RPM, which is obviously a little bit too high. The exhaust got caught on a ramp, basically going to my editor's house, who's a lovely guy, by the way, and as we were pulling up onto the ramp to go into his house, the exhaust got caught. The car basically bottomed out on this ramp. I didn't realise how low the car was. Obviously, I'm getting used to the car, not driven it all that much before now. So as we was going up the ramp, the exhaust got caught and it basically pulled the whole exhaust system off. So that was quite funny in itself. The car sounds monstrous without an exhaust, by the way. Unfortunately, I didn't get any footage, which is very, very stupid of me, so I do apologise. But I picked the exhaust up off the floor, put it in the back of the car, and we drove straight to Bower Lane Tyres and Maidstone Exhaust Centre, the same place, who are good friends of mine. There's a couple of lovely guys in there, based in Maidstone, so obviously if you need anything from a tyre perspective or an exhaust perspective, go speak to them. They're amazing, they do a good job. Spoke to the welder there, his name's Joe. He basically chucked the exhaust back on. He had to heat up the exhaust hangers and bend them back to shape. Had to do a couple of little welds here and there, but basically it was the V-band that had snapped, and that was the main reason why the whole exhaust had kind of pushed itself off. So put a new V-band on there, did a couple of little welds, and the exhaust was back on, back sounding good, no issues at all. So after a few more sort of days of driving around, we noticed there was a little bit of a splutter. Said splutter is still there, and I am kind of, you know, in the investigation stages. So at this point, what we did is we went and spoke to a guy that I know called Liam. He's got an R34 in blue, and it is one of the best cars that I've seen around Kent, and that's, you know, that's saying something, because there's a lot of nice cars in Kent, but his car is well up there. I went and spoke to Liam, went to his unit. He's just got some new ramps set up in his unit, so that was really cool to go and see. He basically plugged the car in, got it set up. He's got a bunch of, you know, not tuning software, but I would say that he's got a lot of, you know, good tools to his advantage, and where he's done everything on his R34 himself. He completely rebuilt the engine, and he completely painted his engine bay over last Christmas. So I knew that he knows what he's talking about. So when he plugged the car in, he managed to see that the idle timing was at about 2, and it's supposed to be between sort of 12 and 14. So after a bit of fiddling, a bit of playing around with the idle RPMs and everything like that, we managed to get the idle timing to 12, and the RPMs are now sat at 750 when it's at idle. So that was a lot better. Unfortunately, the splutters are still there. When I spoke to Fergus about the splutters, we didn't know if it could have been a misfire or if it's just the car spluttering due to some sort of fueling issue. Could be the injectors, it could be the fuel pump, it could be just some old fuel that's still in the system. Really don't know. But after speaking to Fergus, who basically rebuilt the car, speaking to Liam, who rebuilt his own R34 last year, the splutters are quite a normal thing for these engines, I believe. Liam's got a few issues with his at the moment, and he's basically saying his sort of stutters all the way up to about 3,000 RPM. Mine seems to stutter at idle now, and also up to sort of 2,000 RPM is where you can hear it quite a lot. But once you're actually driving the car, you can't really hear it all that much. After driving the car for a sort of a couple of weeks now, I can say that the car is currently spitting flames. When you let off sort of in fourth or fifth at quite high revs, it will, you know, it will ignite a flame. So I believe some sort of overfueling is definitely what's causing the splutter, and we're going to be checking it out further in the future. But it could be a loose ignition coil, it could be spark plugs, it could be where obviously there was a lot of moisture in cylinder 6, could be that spark plug is just, you know, not sparking properly. I really don't know, but we will sort of investigate that, and we'll come back to it once we sort of find the answers.
I love this.
Cheers, bro. Thank you.
New course on social.
YouTube.
What is your channel?
Motoroga.
Motor.
Oh, wow. So that's been today's video, guys. Obviously in this video we're just getting the car on the road, getting the car running and driving, and basically just enjoying it a little bit to start off with. In the future, obviously we're going to be going to a lot of events, hopefully before Christmas. Now you know by the end of this video, obviously the car did get running and driving, we did fix the head gasket, so you can expect to see some more content coming from here ASAP. We're going to be going to a few different events, a few different locations. We're going to be filming as much as we possibly can, and hopefully bringing you guys along for the journey. So hopefully I'll see you very soon, but for now, that's Motor Ogre signing out. Catch you soon.